Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another Stephen King review. If you're confused, like, hasn't he already reviewed all of Stephen King's work? No worries, you're probably thinking that because of my Thursday Theorist series that is loaded with Stephen King spoilers, because I connect all of his books and stories to the Dark Tower universe and the Kingverse in general, but these are spoiler-free reviews. Today, we are talking about Insomnia. And before we get going, this is one of the best pictures of Stephen King that he's ever had on a cover. On the back cover. I think the shirt is an eyeball and it says, "We never sleep." Anywho, I'm going to put this one over here. I'm not about to hold it like I did in the last video with Nightmares and Dreamscapes because I'm shooting all these in one day. And my wrists get tired from holding up these books. But anyways, Insomnia is a story about Ralph Roberts, who has recently lost his wife, and he starts waking up earlier and earlier and earlier in the morning, starting about 4 a.m., and it just keeps on getting worse as he goes along. This is actual insomnia. Insomnia is not a problem usually falling asleep. It is a problem waking up too soon after you've gone to sleep, at least a clinical definition of insomnia. But this is one of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. I believe I put it in my top 10. If I didn't, it really needs to be up there. I love stories about protagonists that we don't see too often, and Ralph Roberts being an octogenarian, we just don't see this type of character too often, and King does it every now and again. Much older characters. He even did a miniseries called The Golden Years that was all about, old people. I believe it's a Fountain of Youth story. It's been decades since I watched that. I think the last time I saw it was when it was on television when it was first released. Anywho, but back to Insomnia. So I love the story. It's far more literary than most of his stuff. This is probably the turning point. Dolores Claiborne kind of worked into this also, but his turning point away from the horror stuff, going into a more literary style. This is usually the point where everybody gets upset and goes, "Oh my God, Stephen King can't write anymore. He's terrible. He don't write horror." I don't care. Every time I see those comments, I laugh because the dude got better at what he did. He still writes horror on occasion, and when he does, I'm usually not a huge fan of it, oddly enough. I think the most recent horror one that I read of his that I really, really loved was The Outsider. The Institute wasn't really much of a horror novel. Also, as I'm filming this, it has been announced that, he has a new book coming out, Fairy Tale, which will be out September 6th, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I did a live stream talking about it. It's up on the channel somewhere. I think if you go to my page and click on live video, I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't pay too much attention to my actual page, other than the community page, where I do all of the updates for the channel and, what you guys can expect, so on and so forth. And I'm not constantly bombarding you. But back to this story. There's a big problem, and the problem with this book is also the reason why so many people don't like it and why it hasn't been adapted yet. It ties in heavily to the Dark Tower. For not being a Dark Tower book, this one probably ties into the Dark Tower the most out of all the non-Dark Tower books, and I find that interesting. There's also a very big spoiler down in the depths when you get down there for another one of, not spoiler, but there's an Easter egg, a huge Easter egg, and I'm wondering how that item got there. It is the topic of much discussion in the Stephen King community about why this certain thing would be down there with the baldies, the bald doctors. There is horror aspects to this book, the bald doctors being that horror aspect, and I thought they were significantly creepy. But what I'm here for in this book is the characters. Following Ralph throughout the entire book is an absolute joy. It's one of his best longer novels. I believe it's 800 pages. I could be wrong. I've had to replace this book more than any other book. The way who was this? The way Viking made this one, and I'm glad he no longer has a contract with them. This book just falls apart unlike any other. Yeah, 787 pages, but I've had to replace it 4 times. It got lost in a hurricane, 2 different hurricanes. If you want to know that story, you can watch my life as a Stephen King fan. I think there's 2 videos in that series. But anyways, so this one, I don't know what it is about the materials they made, but it really falls apart, and I've had to replace it 2 other times. This is my 5th copy. Madness. There's also an illustrated edition that inverts everything that you see that's red is white, and everything you see is white is red. There's an inverted version of it, and if you get your hands on that one where the text is red, it's a special, it's not really a limit, I guess it's a limited edition, but it's a special variant of the book that has illustrations, or more illustrations than what's already in there. But yeah, I absolutely love this book for the journey. I even love the end of it, even though it's utterly heartbreaking, because I really got to love the characters. But I don't think it could have ended any other way. So I'm a big fan of this one, easily in my top 10, and I suggest everybody at least try it once. But I will say, for those of you who think that King lost something when he stopped writing strictly horror, even though he never wrote strictly horror, I would say probably stay away from it, because it's going to have everything in it that you guys complain about. But until next time, wow, I just completely locked up at my outro, and I'm going to keep that in too. Anyways, but if you read Insomnia, if you have, let me know what you thought of it down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you. This has been another Stephen King book review. I'll talk to you guys later. Whew, what a day. Bye-bye.